All right, the president on his way out to Kenosha, Wisconsin right now. He's planning to visit the tool manufacturer Snap-on. It's his first visit to Wisconsin, a state he barely won, but he won, and that was something unprecedented for a Republican in recent presidential elections. But returning to a scene of a stunning victory right now, and of course, a call for more American jobs, more American workers. He'll be meeting up with this guy, the governor of that fine state, Scott Walker, who joins us live. Governor, very good to have you.
Neil, great to be with you as always.
All right, now, I guess one of his key themes will be protecting those American workers and American jobs. Is that essentially what the message will be?
Yeah, and Snap-on's a perfect place. It's a great tool maker, making tools right here in the United States, making it right here in the state of Wisconsin. We love Snap-on. We love the fact that they're selling tools all around the world, but really stressing not only buying American, but hiring American, and looking at ways that he can further that both through his actions today. As I understand, he's going to sign an executive order that calls for some changes in several federal agencies, Department of Justice, Homeland Security, State, and Labor, that talk about ways that they can make sure that the people who are coming to the United States, particularly through some of the immigration programs, aren't taking the place of American workers, and doing more to promote manufacturing in particular when it comes to making things in America.
Do you think that companies really try hard to avoid that, to hiring foreign workers at the expense of American workers? Because Boeing made a number of promises to the president in that regard. I'm not blaming Boeing, but I am saying that it is announcing now that several hundred managers are going to be going. And I'm wondering how that jives with the commitment they made to the president just a couple of months ago not to do that.
Well, I think the important next step is not just this action today, which we appreciate, but taking the next step, important to talk about on Tax Day, and that is the president calling for and the Congress ultimately acting on comprehensive tax reform. If we are able to get the employer tax rate, the corporate tax rate, down to a level that's commensurate with most of the rest of the industrialized world, if we're able to get to a point where they can repatriate, bring back those American dollars, more important than just the dollars, I believe it will help bring back American jobs.
But are you worried that that could be delayed, Governor? That could be delayed. Now talk is the August goal has been pushed back, and, you know, judging from the crazy market reaction, all this serious doubts. What do you think?
Well, I still think we need to push for it. I and other governors, certainly on behalf of the people here in Wisconsin, but I think other governors are doing the same. We believe that one of the best ways to grow our economies is to bring more confidence back to this country. One of the best ways they could do that is to move forward. I wouldn't get bogged down in a million different things. I would literally just cut the rate, make it easier to bring those dollars back, cut individual rates along the way if you can afford to do that. That, as well as the regulatory reform the president and his administration have already done, have already started to show signs of help for not only manufacturers, but for farmers and small business owners here in the state of Wisconsin and elsewhere across the country. I think we can get the dramatic growth if we do just those basic, simple things. Don't get caught up on 100 other items. Do those things, get it done, and get it done before they go to recess in August.
Well, it doesn't look likely that's going to be the case, but, you know, hope springs eternal, to your point. The reason I mention it, Governor, is that there's been some criticism that the president's team, his economic team, are filled with moderates who don't share that view that you need sweeping tax cuts, or even, for that matter, sweeping corporate tax reform, that more to tinker around the edges. What do you make of that, and is that a fear that you have?
Oh, I think the president's hearing from a variety of different voices on this and other issues, but in the end, I think what he wants to do is...
I don't know if we've got a variety of voices there, Governor. I think we have the voices that I hear, with the exception, to be fair to the president, is that I don't hear many supply-siders or rabid tax cutters. I don't hear those voices.
Well, I think there are some, but I think particularly people like Vice President Mike Pence, I think definitely is in that vein. And I know when he's talked to business leaders, to governors and others out there, we understand. We've shown it in Wisconsin. You look at other states across the country, particularly states led by Republican governors, we continue to see dramatic economic growth. We're down at an unemployment rate at 3.7%. That's the lowest we've had since November of the year 2000. A month ago, our employment numbers in the state were the highest we've ever had. Well, that's because we've cut revenue. In fact, our cumulative benefits of all of our tax cuts over the 2 terms I've served in office by the time I'm done will exceed $8 billion. And yet, even while we've cut rates on income, we've cut rates on property, we've cut taxes on businesses, we actually see more revenue coming into our state.
No,
Why?
that is
Because if you put more
the
money back
proof
in people's
with
hands.
tax cuts. They do create revenue. There might be some who dispute that, but it's obviously worked for you. The reason why I belabor this point is I think everything rests on these tax cuts coming into being. And I'm worried, Governor, that they are going to be delayed, even potentially denied. And I say that fearing that, as one analyst told me, it's as if the Trump White House has been overtaken by Keynesians, people who are very big, devotees of big government, and not in cutting the size of that government.
Well, Neil, the best way for the president to get hold of that issue is to get out of the White House and do what he's doing here today. By being here in Wisconsin, by going to other places. I found, for me, over the last 6 years, one of the best things I could do was get out of the Capitol and see people. You hear from people. You're not just in that bubble in Washington, as I call it, 68 square miles surrounded by reality, but forget about all the other checks and balances. Go out and talk to the American people. They know what they want, and particularly today of all days on tax day, they know if you cut taxes, you put more money back in the hands of not just individual taxpayers, but employers. That's the best stimulus you can provide, not only for more jobs, but for higher wages. That's the best way to truly stimulate the economy. And I think in state after state, Republican governor after Republican governor, Republican legislative majorities all across this nation have helped make that point on a state-by-state basis. We need it nationally. I think President Trump can make that happen.
You've mentioned the fact that your 2 terms, a term and a half, that has been your guiding focus. And apparently, recently you met with a number of fundraisers and like hinting of a third run. Are you going to run for re-election?
Well, I'm more optimistic about the future of my state than I've ever been before. And so I'll make an official announcement after our budget's done in June. Hopefully, the legislature will enact all our tax cuts. And as I mentioned, that will mean by the time we're done with this budget, we will have exceeded $8 billion. That's billion with a B dollars worth of tax cuts. We'll actually eliminate an entire state tax. We'll have lower income and property taxes.
Now, you would definitely have the record to run out. Obviously, there'll be many who will try to stop you at every path, but that you are more leaning to running than not?
I am more excited about the future of my state than ever before. I always say, when people ask if I'm going to run, I say, why wouldn't I? When you've got more people employed than ever before, the future's brighter than it's ever been before. We're putting more in education than we've ever done before. All the right things are happening in this state to make it even better. And what I love is I'm optimistic about this president, this administration, this Congress, not just passing tax reform and other major changes. I'm optimistic that over the next few years, they're going to take more of the power and responsibility and resources from Washington and give it back to the states. And I want to be a part of making that happen, not only in my state, but help other governors do that across America. That's what our founders intended.
Maybe
That's how we really get the economy
maybe run
going.
for president again, right?
Well, we got a president right now. I'm happy to see him run for re-election.
All right.
I love him and Mike Pence, and I'm just thrilled that he's here today.